together. That's all it took. 2 weeks for me to fall for you. Dear John.
And welcome to another episode of Time About the Movies. Once again, we're taking a look at the films of February 5th, 2010. And that's our first movie that we have here, Dear John, starring Channing Tatum as a soldier who falls in love with a young woman played by Amanda Seyfried. That's it. That's really all it is, man. I mean, this is another Nicholas Sparks movie. Would you believe only the third one after The Notebook? I mean, technically the second one after The Notebook, but, you know, we had a Walk to Remember before that Notebook, and then A Message in a Bottle. So technically this is the sixth film in total of the Nicholas Sparks novels that have been turned into feature films. But this is only the second one after The Notebook, which came out 6 years ago, which is very hard to believe. The other one was Nice and Rodanthe, and that wasn't that great. This one's slightly better, but it's mostly because of the actors giving it their all. Channing Tatum and Amanda Seyfried. They do work very well in here, but other than that, though, it's a pretty forgettable movie. It's a melodramatic film. It's coming out around Valentine's Day, so everybody's getting in that loving mood. Their couples are, but let me just put it this way. I remember the Spill.com review for Dear John more than I remember the movie itself.
With any other white lead in a romantic movie like this, like the girl would be like, "Come back and join us for a barbecue." And the guy would be like, "I'll be there in a moment, lady." But with him, he's kind of like,
I'm sorry, who are you imitating? He takes that now all white people
I know.
We just talk like that all the time.
that was offensive, and I'm sorry, my man. You know what? The girl would be like, "Hey, we're having a barbecue at my house. You want to come back?" And the guy would just be like, "Yeah, that sounds cool. I'll be there." But then
you still couldn't quite.
I'm sorry, I can't.
You went from the Richard Pryor white guy voice to a surfer dude. Okay,
all
right. Take 50 seconds.
Take it from the top. Oh, well, yes, madam, I would like to join you.
That's James Earl Jones. What is that? I'm waiting for you to go to a British accent.
I mean, that right there is more memorable than anything else that goes on in this movie overall. And like I said, it's not a bad movie. It's just a movie that's there. Like, it's there for the couples who are in the Valentine's mood. They want to go see a movie, and they know that the Super Bowl's coming up on Sunday, so, you know, their boyfriends aren't taking them out on Sunday to go see this movie. So they got to do it. They got to do it the days before that. But yeah, this is it is what it is. Take that for what you will, Dear John. I got nothing else for you. This is pretty much a melodramatic, mediocre film at its best, and I've seen much worse in terms of Nicholas Sparks adaptations, which I'm just realizing this came out on February 5th of 2010. I remember this weekend in particular because, yeah, we had that big snowstorm up here in the Northeast, and yeah, it was actually pretty interesting to have all that snow high up here. Like, it was really it was really above the cars when the snow hit, and nobody could really get out of there. And I remember that. I'll never forget that, walking outside and then seeing that. My body was literally right there, like the snow was that high in particular, and this is me just sitting down, but that should just give you an indication of how crazy the weather was that day. But hey, it was interesting. It was an interesting weekend overall with the snowstorm, and then New Orleans winning the Super Bowl that weekend, which, you know, after Hurricane Katrina, they needed it after all those years. But certainly more interesting than anything that was going on at the box office. And Dear John was not a good example of that. But let's see if we can turn the tide around with our next movie here. John Travolta and Jonathan Rhys-Meyers in From Paris with Love.
I'm in the cloak and dagger division of the embassy.
Mostly cloak.
Mostly dagger.
For Special Agent Charlie Wax. When it comes to business,
Ooh, come to daddy.
it's all pleasure.
Hi, I'm going to take the scenic route. Tell me that wasn't some impressive.
John Travolta.
Welcome to Paris, baby.
From Paris with Love.
Once again, another movie that I remember the Spill.com review more than the actual film itself.
You'll see the Eiffel Tower just fall over by the movie with John Travolta sit on top of it. Yeah!
So when From Paris with Love, Pierre Martel's follow-up to Taken, you have Jonathan Rhys-Meyers starring as James Reese, an ambitious aide to the U.S. ambassador in Paris, doing little jobs for the CIA and hoping to get into black ops. On the night he and his girlfriend Carolyn become engaged, he's told to pick up Charlie Wax, played by John Travolta, at Orly. Charlie is an unorthodox government employee, large, bald, and bearded, foul-mouthed, and eccentric. Charlie immediately takes James on a wild ride of murder and mayhem through ethnic enclaves. As bodies pile up, the purpose remains opaque to James. Caroline, unhappy that James has been out of touch for a day, tells him to bring Charlie for dinner. Charlie can be charming. Where will it lead? Does the chess-playing James have what it takes? Yeah, this film is definitely all over the place, and for some reason, John Travolta was just in a violent mood around this time. He was in the Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3, where he played the bad guy, and in this movie, he and Jonathan Rhys-Meyers are essentially just going around Paris and just fucking shit up and blowing shit up. I mean, I wasn't kidding when I said before, this whole movie is action galore, and it can be fun for the most part. Yeah, it definitely is a lot of fun. The silliness is definitely there. It's a ridiculous movie. It's produced by Luc Besson's company, Eurocope, and I've been kind of negative on him around this point in time, but he did have a couple of other good movies there besides stuff like The Fifth Element, The Professional. This is definitely one where it is very silly and fun. He only wrote the story for this, but it's a silly, fun movie. It's silly, fun. It's over the top. I mean, it's just a fun movie in general. Is it a great film? No, not really. And really, for the guys that follow stuff from Taken, it's not definitely no Taken per se. But like I said, it's silly and fun for what it is. Like, for example, one of the negatives I had with the movie is that even like normal stuff in this movie has to have like this slick, stylized action sequence cinematography to it, like you're watching an action sequence. But no, it's just Jonathan Rhys-Meyers and his girlfriend getting ready to have sex, and it's just like for some reason they shoot it in like fast motion. It's just kind of like, what are we doing here? Like, what's the point of this? I mean, that's the reason why they go to see a movie like this, not just for the action, but the sex too. It's just like. I don't get it. Like, I don't get it. I don't get the way they sped it up and all that type of stuff. But other than that, though, it is what it is. It's a silly movie. It's a stupid movie, but a good, fun, silly, stupid movie overall. So let's go ahead and move on to our last film that we have here, and that is Frozen.
It's Sunday, and they're not open again till Friday.
We're up here all week. We're gonna die.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
I don't want to die up here. Help!
No Josh Gad talking so many to save your ass this time around. It's okay. The cold never bothered him anyway. I'm gonna keep making as many goddamn Frozen puns as I can. Damn it. But yeah, this is definitely not your kid's Frozen. This is a much different Frozen. It's a psychological horror bottle movie, sort of in the vein of something like a Barry that comes up later in the year, or even more recent example, a Fall, with the two people on top of this big pole, and they have to stay up there, and they have to find a way to survive the whole thing. And yeah, pretty much similar setup here. You have a story of three friends stranded in a chairlift after a day of skiing, forced to make life or death decisions in order to survive and get down. And it leads to a chaotic situation where they realize that it's a Sunday and they're stuck up there until the place opens back on Friday. Which means that, yeah, it's going to be cold, it's going to be gray, and it's going to last you the rest of your life. Found out the reference there, but yeah, basically, yeah, these guys are fucked. I mean, these people pretty much are just fucked until they have no choice but to make the decision to essentially just risk your life and just go ahead and try to survive it. And then, like, for example, there's a scene where one of the guys basically just says, fuck it, I can't do this anymore, jumps out of the chair, and yeah, his legs just completely get dismantled, and he's fucked. Like, he's gonna die from whatever creatures are out there. And sure enough, a pack of wolves arrive, and so, yeah, basically, you ain't making it out alive in here. Yeah, it's a movie where it's pretty much straightforward what you think it's gonna be. It's gonna be a movie where life and death decisions will either end up with you falling out to your doom or just trying to survive. And yeah, it's freezing cold, and even when that trailer that I showed you ends, it's literally the girl like trying to move her hands, and they're sticking to the pole. And yeah, that's basically meaning that your skin's going to get ripped off you. Like, yeah, there's no way you're going to survive this relatively unscathed in general. You're going to get harmed in some way, shape, or form. This is directed by the guy who did Hatchet, which I don't remember if I ever talked about in the 2000s in one of the earlier episodes. I think it came out in 2006 or 2007. I can't remember, but I don't think I ever covered that one. But no, it didn't really matter. I never saw it before, but this one I have seen, and yeah, it's a really good movie. It is a very intense movie, and it is a very intriguing situation where you have to figure out, I just remember this came out the same year of another movie that's pretty much a bottle movie, 127 Hours, which that one was more mainstream and had James Franco in it, but similar concept here, but I did remember enjoying this movie, and yeah, it's a very intense movie. Like, it's a very intense film where you have these three people sitting up in this lift chair for the majority of the movie, and you have no idea, like, how are they going to survive this? And short answer is that they really don't, but yeah, it's a movie that it does keep you interested overall, and it is a very it's something that could potentially happen. Like, you could be in a situation where you're stuck up there, and you don't have a way to contact anybody. It's just like, yeah, it is something where it is very interesting overall. It's a very intriguing movie. It's an engaging psychological horror movie, and it is a film that keeps you invested all across the board on how these characters are going to either A, survive, or B, get killed off, and for that, it works. It works very well. I think it is a very solid film. I enjoy it. I enjoyed it a lot. So, yeah, I definitely like this one, Frozen. One final note, though, on Frozen. One person does technically survive. Who is it? Well, I'm not going to tell you. That's why you got to see the movie to find out. But really, when you really get down to it, yeah, they survive. That person survives, but they are scarred for life after a situation like that. But with all that said, though, off of Frozen now, and I can't believe I actually didn't make more Frozen references than I could have. I easily could have, but I guess because it's off the cuff, I wasn't really planning on doing a whole lot of that. But anyway, that's going to wrap this episode of Time About the Movies.
Sweetheart, are you ready for your Valentine's gift?
No, but I'm ready for therapy.
Oh, I'm sorry, I apologize. That was Family Guy's parody of Valentine's Day, and, you would look at this and you'd probably think to yourself, there's no way that Family Guy could get it right on the nose. Well, prepare to be not surprised.
Seems to like you. Looks over here every 5 seconds. Maybe a bag of pretzels. Amazing. Oh my god. Well, I used to be a gymnast. Did I hurt you? It's not like I'm gonna sleep with one person for the rest of my life, right? I mean, who does that?
Crazy people like us.
Checking me in for 2? I mean, one and a dog. Oh, great. Happy Valentine's Day. You too. Oh.
Let's get it. Oh, love is the only shocking act left on the planet.
Love sick. You're gonna miss a good time tonight.
Valentine's Day is about love. It's about romance. It's about... Valentine's Day.
It's my fault that I'm alone on Valentine's Day. My closest relationship is with my BlackBerry.
Right.
Thank God it vibrates.
Yeah, Family Guy pretty much knocked it out of the park. This is literally what this movie is like. Oh, by the way, welcome to Time About the Movies, everybody. It's February 12th, 2010, and we are starting off with, of course, Valentine's Day. As that trailer shows, you get pretty much what you expect to see from here. So, like He's Just Not That Into You, which came out a year before, and not directed by Gary Marshall, this movie is centered around various people, all of which are big named actors, and there's a lot of them in here. You see it in the trailer: Ashton Kutcher, Jessica Alba, Jessica Biel, Anne Hathaway, Jamie Foxx, Topher Grace, Patrick Dempsey, Jennifer Garner, Julia Roberts. And a lot of other ones that are not included in there, like Bradley Cooper, Eric Dane, Emma Roberts. You see Shirley MacLaine there, Hector Elizondo, Kathy Bates is in here, Taylor Swift, Taylor Lautner. Remember when the two Taylors were together? Let me tell you something. Considering what's been going on with Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift as of now, I kind of want to go back to those days of that day when the two Taylors were dating and everyone thought that was the cutest thing ever, because it's more tolerable than what's going on with them now. But Queen Latifah is also in here too, on the biggest day for couples, Valentine's Day. And yeah, this is a movie that is literally the definition of a date night movie. I went to go see this on the Sunday after it came out, which coincidentally was Valentine's Day, and yes, the theater was packed with couples. I went up by myself. And to be perfectly honest, I probably should have went with somebody, but I wasn't thinking that this was going to be the massive hit that it was. But it's very funny with this movie, because the first 2 days when it came out, if you look at the box office numbers, it did respectable business overall. But then on Sunday, which is usually the lowest day for a new release in particular, nobody really goes to the movie theaters on Sundays less than they do on Saturday and on Friday and Saturday. Friday and Saturday usually are the big days. Valentine's Day on that Sunday made like 50% more on Saturday, which is very, very rare to do. In fact, let me get the numbers here. Okay, 50% was maybe a little bit of an exaggeration, but it did do the best of the 3 days. It was up 27% from Saturday, which Saturday was 18.3 million, and then Sunday was 23.3 million. Which made sense. I mean, makes sense because it is Valentine's Day, but it's a very rare thing for a movie like that to do good business on Friday and then just do really incredibly well on Sunday. That's like a rare thing to do. And as far as the movie itself goes, it's just I mean, I thought back then it was just okay, and then when I watched it again recently to get ready for this, my thoughts really haven't changed on it. It's just an okay movie. It was trashed by critics when it came out, but it was a massive hit regardless. It made back its budget the first weekend alone, which prompted them to make another movie that came out the following December with New Year's Eve, which that's a much worse movie than this is. This is just passable. Passable is probably the best word to describe it. There are some good elements to it. I thought the two strongest characters in the movie in particular were Ashton Kutcher and Jamie Foxx. Foxx, I thought, was the best overall in the movie. And, you know, I went to this to see if Taylor Lautner and Taylor Swift could act overall. And you know, that was one of the things I was looking at with this movie when I first saw it. It's just like, can these two act overall? And at least in this movie, they were both fine. They weren't anything spectacular or special. For Lautner, considering what he would later on do down the road, I mean, this is like probably his best work overall. But Taylor Swift, she's kind of the ditzy girlfriend. She's fine, I guess. I mean, like, she was also fine as SNL and CSI at the same time, you know, when CSI was still on the air. But other than that, though, yeah, not really much there in general, but with them. But some of the bad things about the film, George Lopez is also in here too. Here's the thing about this movie: they have so many people in this movie. They're still introducing characters halfway through the movie, and it's just like, you know, that's one of the big things right there. It's just like, you've got all these names in here. Okay, that's fine, but it's just like, at some point you have to cut off introducing new people with these big names in here, because sooner or later the movie's going to come to an end soon. You're going to have all these stories that are not going to have any conclusions whatsoever. And, you know, George Lopez in here, his character's kind of useless. He's just there to be basically the comic relief. And my major complaint of the movie is that two stories in this basically don't have a happy ending. You have Patrick Dempsey's character, he's a married man who has an affair with Jennifer Garner, and Garner gets her revenge, and Dempsey is left with no one on Valentine's Day. And, I mean, that's something where I can understand that he shouldn't deserve a happy ending for it, but you've got Jessica Alba's character, and this was kind of the year when Jessica Alba really... I almost lost the review there because I hit the wrong button there, but Jessica Alba's character, this is kind of the year where her career just took a gigantic nosedive. I mean, this pales in comparison to the horrors of Little Fockers coming up at the end of the year, but her character is really misused, and she's getting punished for no reason at all. Like, the movie basically says, like, if you're not going to commit to your boyfriend, Ashton Kutcher, who wants to marry you, then you don't deserve a happy ending. And it's just, like, bullshit. I'm sorry that you want to have this happy ending, go-around thing for everyone, like, but I'm sorry. that's a bad message to send out to women out there. It's just like, commit or else you're never getting married and your life's going to be completely miserable. I'm so sick and tired of movies and shows where they force people to get married and have kids. I mean, we've seen that in a lot of these bad romantic comedies we've covered here. I mean, it's that bad. I mean, it's just something that, I mean, like, let people live their goddamn lives. I mean, let people live. Seriously. It's just like, you don't need to settle down right away. Like, when the moment comes, you'll know when you're ready to fall in love and ready to commit to a relationship or a marriage and all that. Like, I mean, that's just my personal thinking on it, per se. But then again, this is somebody who's never really been in a real relationship with somebody, unfortunately. But beside the point, it's just like, this movie overall is just fine, I guess. I mean, it's nothing that bad overall. I've seen much worse. I mean, Legion, Leap Year, One in Rome, those movies are much, much worse ways to start the year off. There are things about this that are just fine. Like, the performances overall are good. Fox, I think, is the best one overall, but the laughs are not really there in general. It's just kind of a mediocre film in general that just really felt like it existed because they got all these names in here, and that's what people were sold on alone. They didn't care about whether or not it was going to be funny or not. Hey, all these big actors are in here. There you go. Supposedly we got a movie there, and yeah, enjoy it while you can, because the next one after this is really, really where the shit literally hits the fan. So that's Valentine's Day, so let's go ahead and go to another movie. You know, forget Valentine's Day. You know what couples really want to go see on Valentine's Day? A horror movie with the Wolfman.
There are those who doubt the power to change men into beasts.
Do you believe in curses?
On February 12th, the legend lives. The Wolfman. You've done terrible things. Rated R.
So yeah, this was a very interesting movie overall. This is a film that, back when it came out, it really wasn't the big hit overall. It wasn't a big, it was a failure. It didn't make it back its $150 million budget. It was mostly a mixed reviewed movie, but the makeup overall was generally praised for it. But one of the things that needs to be noted about this movie, a while back when we talked about 1 Hour Photo, I said that Mark Romanek was the director on this movie. He was supposed to be the director, but because the writer's strike was going on, there was a thing where he wanted to basically rewrite the script overall, and Universal wouldn't allow him to do that because they were on strike. They were WGA signatories, so they basically meant that, you know, they couldn't hire anybody to rewrite the script overall, and thus, along with that, and some creative differences and budgetary issues, like they want to use practical effects in here, but no, we're not. But Universal's not going to let them do that because why would they? I'll get to that in just a second. But so Mark Romanek basically left the project, unfortunately, and then they brought in Joe Johnston to direct the movie. Joe Johnston's not a bad director. He did Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. He did Jumanji. He did. He's going to do Captain America: the First Avenger coming up the year after this. So yeah, he's not a bad director to replace him. And trust me, it would have been a lot worse because they would have gotten Brett Ratner to direct the movie, and Brett Ratner probably would have ruined this movie big time. But yeah, there was a lot of problems behind the scenes with the film in general. But the film itself is just, it's complicated, but it's interesting because my mood on it definitely has changed, especially with what we had earlier this year. But in this movie, it follows an actor played by Benicio del Toro who, after his brother's brutal murder, returns from the U.S. to his ancestral home in England, where he gets bitten by a werewolf and is cursed to become one. You'll have Anthony Hopkins playing his father, Emily Blunt is playing the love interest, and Hugo Weaving is playing the, the inspector who really is who's trying to figure out the mysteries behind all the murders and all that. And at the time when the movie came out, I think, like most people, I was just kind of like, this isn't bad, but you felt like there could have been so much more to it. I think after what we just had with the Wolfman reboot earlier in the year, which was an abysmal mess of a film, I couldn't believe that, you know, Blumhouse should have been the company that would have fixed that, but knowing the fact that they basically didn't even do a Wolfman movie. Like, that Wolfman in that movie was not the Wolfman. And, again, they had a small budget to work with, but at the same time, you can't go out and do whatever you try to do with that movie in general. But because of that movie, I've somehow slowly but surely started to come around to this movie in particular, where I would say that it's fine. I definitely feel a lot better about it after watching the Wolfman reboot from earlier in the year, but this is still not a great movie overall. The casting overall isn't bad. Benicio del Toro, I think, does a very good job as Lawrence Talbot. I think he does a very good job in that role. Hugo Weaving's very good as the inspector in here. Emily Blunt's okay, too, as the love interest. Anthony Hopkins is fine, but he's definitely part of the problems with the film, but the look of the movie overall looks pretty good, that gothic feel to it. I mean, it's a very good job of handling that, but my biggest problem with the movie, and I think a lot of people's biggest problem with the movie, was that the CG transformations. I mean, look, I get it, Universal. You know that you did American Werewolf in London, and you're never going to top that. No matter how hard you try, you're never going to be able to top that because it's practical effects. Practical effects are something that still hold up after all these years later, especially with 80s horror movies. I mean, I've been noticing that now. The more 80s horror films I've been watching, the practical effects of those movies still hold up after all these years. And they did that with smaller budgets. But the problem is, Universal wants to try to do that same thing with CG. It's just like, just imagine what we could do with CG overall. The transformations in here look absolutely abysmal. Like, in CG, they look terrible. And the problem is, they were going to do practical effects. They brought Rick Baker in, who did those effects in American Werewolf in London, to do this movie. And they were ready to go on the practical effects, but then Universal said, no, 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 no. We've got computers now. We can make, that's what we're going to use for this. So, hey, Rick, stick around, buddy, because we might need you for the makeup work, which... Sure enough, he actually won the Oscar for Best Makeup on this, so yeah, at least some good came out of it. The makeup overall is good, and when you see the Wolfman himself, it looks pretty badass. That looks like what the Wolfman should look like. It's just the CG transformations, they were really ugly to look at back then. I thought they'd get better over time, but, I mean, they are a little bit better, but they're still not great either. And the other big problem I have with the movie is that the story overall, like, if of all the things you're going to copy, are you really going to try to copy the 2003 Hulk movie storyline? Because we basically find out that Anthony Hopkins is kind of the bad guy in here because he's the original Wolfman, and it's just like, it was it's so reminiscent of something like the Hulk, where Nick Nolte was basically the antagonist of the whole time in that movie, and it's basically running in that same storyline. It's just kind of like, are you really going down that pathway? That's the direction you decided to take with this movie? At least with the reboot they did earlier in the year, I thought that was a clever idea of having it be like a slow burn thriller with his family, and the father's turning into the Wolfman. It's just the execution overall and the lack of a really good looking Wolfman ruined that film in general. But there was a good idea there. With this, it starts off with a very good idea, but then by the third act, it's just kind of like, it falls into ripping off the 2003 Hulk movie. Of all the movies you're going to rip off, why are you going to rip off that one in general? But, so overall, my thoughts on this is that it's still not a great movie, but I will give it more credit. It's a lot better than what we got this past January with the 2025 remake, but it's still not a great movie overall. I'll give it credit where credit is due. It does look nice. When the Wolfman shows up, it looks pretty cool. The makeup work is nicely done. The casting overall is pretty good, but other than that, though, it really is not a great movie overall. It still is a very flawed film. I guess I have a little bit more of a soft spot for it because of what I had to sit through with the 2025 remake, but other than that, though, I never really have any real intentions of watching this again, per se, so take that for what you will. But with all that said, though, let's go ahead and get to our last movie that we have here, and that is Percy Jackson and the Olympians, The Lightning Thief. Man, that live-action Hercules movie about to be lit, y'all. I mean, that literally looks like a scene that they would probably use for the live-action Hercules movie at Disney, which you know they're going to end up doing at some point. I think they're still working on it, even though they temporarily said they're going to shut down on the live-action remakes. Yeah, Lilo and Stitch basically says, the fuck you ain't. I mean, it'd be nice if they would stop, but anyway, this is Percy Jackson and the Olympians, The Lightning Thief. It's, of course, based off the books by Rick Riordan, and coincidentally, those books are actually published by Disney, so 7 years before Disney eventually bought Fox, they were already working with Fox on different projects, but in this movie, you have a young boy named Percy Jackson, played by Logan Lerman, who finds out he's the son of Poseidon after Zeus thinks that Percy stole his master lightning bolt. After getting attacked by a Fury, his protector Grover, played by Brandon T. Jackson from Tropic Thunder, needless to say in a much better movie than Tooth Fairy, tells him and his mother, played by Catherine Kino, to move and take Percy to a camp where he can learn how to use his powers. When his mother gets taken to the depths of hell, Percy, Grover, and Annabeth, played by Alexandra Daddario, in a film that most everybody saw her for the first time, little did we know that she'd become the hottie with the big knockers. I mean, that's literally what she was known for a long period of time. I mean, True Detective, San Andreas, anybody, but, I mean, that's not me saying it. That's everybody that was saying that back then, but they must go on a journey across America to grab 3 pearls in order to get his mother back from Hades. So, it's basically, you ever seen the Danny Phantom TV movie? This is the last one they did. It was like what was it? I think I have it in here on my review here. Reality Trip is what it's called, but yeah, it's basically that storyline, except replace Danny, Sam, and it's been a while since I've watched Danny Phantom, but I can't remember who the third kid was. Tucker, Danny, Sam, and Tucker. Replace them with these 3, and you've pretty much got the same movie in general, but this movie makes no sense. But then again, it's because when I saw this for the first time, I never read the books. I never knew what was going on inside of the film in general. And usually, I don't need to worry about looking at the books to really understand what's going on in the movie. Usually, I just let the movie do the work for me. I mean, that's what I was like with the Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings. I didn't feel like I needed to read the books in general. But then again, maybe if I would have enjoyed it more, which I enjoy those movies overall, but this is definitely one where, yeah, I probably should have read the books overall, because apparently a lot of the stuff they threw in here was stuff from the book in general. So yeah, I didn't like it at first. As time has gone on, I really did come around to saying that it's still not great, but I at least get it now after taking a look at the books in general and basically just summing it up, seeing it on Wikipedia, just like, okay, this makes sense overall. But there were some things about the film that I didn't like overall. For the one thing I didn't like the most was Pierce Brosnan, who, I mean, he really was overacting his ass off in this movie. I mean, you thought this makes Mamma Mia look saner by comparison. I mean, what happened to Pierce Brosnan from GoldenEye or The Matador? Like, I want that Brosnan back in here. Another character I didn't really like overall was Steve Coogan playing Hades, and I'm sorry, I can't buy the director of Tropic Thunder and the happy, pepped-up music teacher in Hamlet 2 as the boss of the underworld. And I'll say this, the special effects overall were not that great the first time I saw it, and I thought maybe watching it again, it's just like, maybe it gets better, and just like, nah. Like, you can't trust anyone because they could be Furies too. Like, every single time they go somewhere, there's always someone waiting right there for them. It's just kind of like it's just like every time. Like, there's never a point where it just feels like, you know, they could just go somewhere and no problems whatsoever. But no, something has got to happen. Now, at times that can be pretty awesome. There's one scene in particular that I did not like at first. But the more I thought about it, when they went to Las Vegas and they go to this place called the Lotus Flowers, and they're playing Lady Gaga's Poker Face in the background. It's just like there's a whole thing where they're just in there and they don't realize that they're stuck inside of like a fantasy world type of stuff. And it's just kind of like, yeah, I watched it at first and I didn't like it, but as time has gone on, I definitely came around to it because I thought that's actually much cleverer than I thought it was. That's actually something where it actually does play much better than I could have expected it to. But like there's just parts of the movie where it's so confusing that it really is one of those movies that you really have to read the books to understand more about it. And once I did that, I just felt like it was like, okay, this is something where it is something like I can give a little bit more of an appreciation towards. Not to say that the movie is great overall, but there are good things I like about it. I thought the 3 heroes were pretty good. Logan Lerman, pretty good actor overall. He was actually somebody who they were looking at to do The Amazing Spider-Man, and I thought he could have pulled it off had Andrew Garfield not gotten it. But Brandon T. Jackson, like I said, this is a nice return to form for him before he eventually his career completely fell off the face of the earth when he did Big Mamas Like Father Like Son the next year. And once again, Alexander Daddario, man. I mean, back then she was hot, but it was the eyes that really did it for her. Those eyes were just like that's a woman where like those, like if you like back then the eyes really do it for you. But then when her career gets going, we're not looking at her eyes anymore. We're looking at her bazooms pretty much. But I've said my piece on that one. But Kathleen Kino was also pretty good too. I thought she was actually pretty good in here playing the mom. She was definitely a lot better here than in Where the Wild Things Are. And Rosario Dawson, she's only here for a little bit, but I thought she was really good overall. I did like the last battle between Percy and the bad guy in here, which has the best special effects of the entire movie. The third act overall is where the film really does get going overall. Like, the third act is where the film really does take off, and it really leads to a lot of great stuff overall. Like, if the first two acts had been like that third act, I probably would have loved this movie. But as it is, I mean, and like I said, going back to what I said about the Danny Phantom special, this literally feels like Chris Columbus saw Danny Phantom's reality trip episode and said, that should be the basis for Percy Jackson and the Olympians. And not Chris Columbus, but mostly the writers of this. I feel like they saw that just like, because it's literally the same thing. They got to go on the road trip across the country, grabbing pearls to stop an evil villain from taking over the world and finding off random villains to get it. And that was a cartoon, and that was more believable than this was. But overall, I didn't like it when I first came out of it, but as time has gone on, I've sort of kind of understood more of the Percy Jackson universe in general. I will say that it's fine. I guess the best way to describe it is just it's an okay movie, but you really need to survive the first two acts before you get to the good stuff in the third part. But the third act overall really is the best part of it. Had the first two acts been a whole lot better, I probably would have enjoyed this. But as it is, it's just fine. Nothing too spectacular, nothing too amazing, but definitely a lot better than I made it out to be the first time around. I have come around to giving it a little bit more of an appreciation towards it. Plus, it certainly kicks the crap out of Sea of Monsters. That's the one where they really dropped the ball on the badness of that one. But this one's okay, I guess. Percy Jackson and the Olympians, The Lightning Thief. I guess if you're a true fan of the book overall, you'll enjoy it more than I did. But me personally, that's pretty much all I got to say for you on that one.
Antecedentes sobre la institución. Nos llegan los enfermos más trastornados y peligrosos. Señores, bienvenidos a Shutter Island. Agente Daniels, doctor. Así que la interna Rachel Solano se ha fugado durante las últimas 24 horas. ¿Se la considera peligrosa? Diría que sí. He levantado un centro único. No lo entiende. Está atrapado. Y lo que es único no siempre es bien comprendido. ¿Quién sabe la verdad? Todo el mundo. Las enfermeras, los celadores. Es imposible que lo sepa todo el mundo. Comprende ahora por qué no pueden dejarle marchar. ¿Va a alguna parte? Nunca podrá salir de la isla.
I know what you're thinking. I had no idea that was a Spanish trailer. It was literally going to be people talking in Spanish, but I thought that was going to be like subtitles, like I had last week with the Valentine's Day trailer. But anyway, this is time about the movies, and we're taking a look at the two films released on February 19, 2010. But regardless of whatever language that's in, Shutter Island, the latest film from Martin Scorsese. Third time I believe he's reunited with Leonardo DiCaprio, and it involves a deputy U.S. Marshal, played by DiCaprio, who comes to Shutter Island to investigate a psychiatric facility after one of the patients go missing. You see, the cast also includes Mark Ruffalo, Ben Kingsley, Max von Sydow, Michelle Williams, Jackie Earle Haley, Patricia Clarkson, Emily Mortimer, and this is based off of a Dennis Lehane book. He's the same man that also gave us Gone Baby Gone, and written by Letia Karagoudis, who also wrote Alexander, Pathfinder, Night Watch, was an executive producer on both the Birds of Prey and Bionic Woman TV series of the 2000s. And, yeah, this is a movie that came out in February. It was originally supposed to come out in December, but Paramount pushed it back. Actually, it was supposed to be October, but Paramount pushed it back saying that they didn't have the financing in 2009 to spend the $50 to $60 million necessary to market a big awards pick like this, and DiCaprio was unable to promote the film internationally, and Paramount hoped that the economy rebounded enough by February 2010 that a film geared towards adult audiences would be viable financially. So they basically said, fuck the awards season, we need to make some money off this bitch, and I mean, it worked. It made a ton of money. It was actually a big hit overall. It brought in brought in over $294 million worldwide. It only cost $80 million to make. So in the end, their plan worked. But this is definitely one that probably could have been an awards contender, especially considering that the movie really is pretty damn good. I mean, this is a really, really good movie. Very tense, very chilling, very terrifying. Leonardo DiCaprio getting yet another really good performance in here. Everybody here is playing their parts very well here. This mood and the atmosphere is there, and you really are kept on the edge of your seat on what the hell's going on and how this is going to transpire. Like, what's the end result of this going to be? And you do get that in this movie. You do get a lot of that in this film, and it definitely does deliver on it. Granted, yeah, they probably could have, basically just put this out on awards season and hope to get some awards buzz for it. But they went with the plan to try to get money off it, and sure enough, people bought into it. Mostly because it was DiCaprio and Scorsese working again. The last time these two guys worked with each other, it's working out pretty well for them. Gangs of New York, The Departed, now this movie, and would not be the last time these two would eventually reunite. Give it a couple of years, they'll be working on The Wolf of Wall Street later on, which was another big success overall. But, yeah, overall, this is a really good movie. A really, really damn good movie. Shutter Island, what more you got to say about it? So, with that said, let's go ahead and move on to the lesser of the two thrillers that came out this weekend. Directed by Roman Polanski, this is The Ghostwriter.
Who are you? I'm your ghost.
A ghostwriter for one of the world's most powerful men
Former British Prime Minister Adam Lang is back in the news.
has discovered a dangerous secret
You're looking for a war criminal. You don't have any proof.
You'll get us the proof.
that will put his life at risk.
You don't realize how serious this is getting.
From Academy Award-winning director Roman Polanski, Ewan McGregor, Pierce Brosnan, Kim Cattrall.
I know about you and the CIA.
The Ghostwriter, rated PG-13, opens in select cities Friday.
So in The Ghostwriter, an unremarkable ghostwriter has landed a lucrative contract to redact the memoirs of Adam Lang, the former UK Prime Minister, Lang being played by Pierce Brosnan, and the writer being played by Ewan McGregor. After dominating British politics for years, Lang is campaigning for his foundation with his wife in the US. He lives on an island in luxurious, isolated premises, complete with a security detail and a secretarial staff. Soon, Adam Lang gets embroiled in a major scandal with international ramifications that reveal how far he was ready to go in order to nurture UK's special relationship with the US. But before the controversy had started, before he even had to close the deal with the publisher, the ghostwriter gets unmistakable signs that the turgid draft he is tasked to put into shape inexplicably constitutes highly sensitive material. So, it's essentially a story of a guy who's corrupt, and he's basically talking to a guy who's trying to reveal the truth and all, and you can pretty much tell where that's going to go from there. And this is directed by, like I said, Roman Polanski, which this was the last thing he did before he finally got arrested for stuff that he did back in the past. Like, he got arrested by the Swiss police in September of 2009 at the request of the U.S. and was held for extradition. And due to Polanski's arrest, he couldn't finish the film, so they had to push the film back. And he basically had to do the post-production work from his house during house arrest at a Swiss villa, and he was unable to show up for the premiere for this in February of 2010. So yeah, this is a movie that is notable on that front there. Other than that, though, the film itself overall is just okay, I guess. It's not really a great movie overall. The performances overall, I think, do carry it over to something that's tolerable, but you're never going to remember this movie after you see it. Like, I barely remember it from the first time I saw it a few months ago, but good cast overall in here. McGregor, Brosnan, Kim Cattrall, Olivia Williams, Tom Wilkinson, Timothy Hutton, John Barenthal, Jim Belushi's in here too, Eli Wallach, written by the writer of the book, Robert Harris, but it's not one of Roman Polanski's best movies overall. It's just passable. It's fine for what it is, but it definitely felt like it could have been a whole lot better overall. But like I said, not terrible, but not a great movie either. So that's The Ghostwriter for you.
From Warner Brothers Pictures, the studio that brought you the acclaimed police dramas Dirty Harry, Training Day, and The Departed, comes a film that carries on the tradition.
decision.
Hello? The president is black now. We make decisions.
You know, there's a right way of doing police work.
Then there's a way you two do it.
Now's a good time to do something. Now that is what I'm talking about.
This is the stuff that my mother used to tell my friends about. My son is a genius. My son is a genius. That's the sound of the police. That's the sound of the beast.
What's going on?
Somebody just broke into your house.
I'm gonna go take care of the son of a bee myself.
Oh, man.
You gonna smoke somebody?
Put the gun down.
I know my rights.
Lady, put the freaking gun down on the ground right now. Take your shot across the freaking street and say that door's gonna get you. Jeez, see.
This February.
Come on, Jim.
I'll shoot you right in the face.
I'll shoot you in the face.
What? Shut up. Stop repeating. Stop repeating.
Come on.
Shut up, man. You see what you're doing, Jim? Bruce Willis, my partner. Smarter than that, man. Why did you smack me?
I was in the moment, and the moment said smack you.
Tracy Morgan. Policia.
Ayúdame.
We need to know what happened to
Tuve
her.
2 días en una cajuela encerrada. No sabía qué hacer.
And Sean William Scott.
This is police brutality.
Not yet.
Hey, keep going, man. I'll cheat. Okay, here we go.
Come on. Cop out. No. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. No. 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 Hell no. 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 I refuse. No. No.
Who's there?
Comedy.
And welcome to Time About the Movies, where we're taking a look at the 2 films released on February 26, 2010. As I said before, this is usually when the studios start to put the stuff out they're proud of. Whether or not the movie is turning out to be good is too soon to tell. And I can definitely tell you this first film is nothing that the studio should be proud of. Cop Out. This is the only film directed by Kevin Smith that he did not write. So that's an interesting sign right there. This is a film where, Kevin Smith was starting to make more mainstream stuff. And mostly started with Clerks 2, which wasn't really a mainstream movie, but it was a sequel to the film that started it all. It was released more wider than his usual releases are, and it was a big success. Then you had Zack and Miri, which was his Judd Apatow's comedy, which was his most mainstream film at that point, which had gone on to become a success as well. And now here you have Cop Out, which is easily his most mainstream movie. It's released by Warner Brothers. It has 2 of the biggest stars of their respective genres, Bruce Willis and Tracy Morgan. He's got a cast of relatively well-known people here. This is not taking place in the View Askew universe at all. This is Kevin Smith literally taking the script from somebody else. In fact, 2 writers who we recently just talked about one of their really bad stuff on the website, and that was of course Gary the Rat, which was not a great show by any means necessary, and we have the only film that they have ever written. But, Kevin Smith has made a couple of mainstream films before this, as I said before, so, you would think that maybe, just maybe, that there was a chance that this could turn out well for him overall, but, needless to say that this did not go well. Before we get to the plot itself, though, we have to take a look at the behind-the-scenes problems of the movie, because there are a lot of them, specifically between Kevin Smith and Bruce Willis. In fact, on a 2011 episode of WTF with Mark Maron, he expressed deep frustration with Willis' behavior on set, saying the actor refused to participate in promotional activities and contributed to a difficult work environment. And in contrast, he praised Tracy Morgan's enthusiasm and commitment. A talent representative described Smith's directing style as disengaged, claiming he spent most of his time behind the monitor and did not interact much with his cast. He later defended his approach, attributing his productivity to marijuana use, which he claimed to be a central part of the creative process after observing how Seth Rogen did it with Zack and Miri Make a Porno. There was also a rumbling that, there was a time when they were on set and Kevin Smith just really got it into each other. You ever see that episode of The Office where Stanley, tells Michael Scott, "Did I stutter?" And that really just takes Michael aback. And there's a point towards the end where he looks like where Michael's like about ready to beat Stanley's ass, and he's just like, everybody out of the room except Stanley, and it's just like. That's what I get the feeling that was what's going on in the set here. There was a lot of problems I had heard about with this movie in general, but after Willis retired in 2022 because of aphasia, Smith did actually apologize for his past criticisms of the actor, and so at least it did come around in the end to them making amends pretty much. So there's that, but what about the movie itself? Clearly, the movie should be at least somewhat interesting to see what Kevin Smith can do without a script, right? Not so much. Jimmy and Paul, played by Bruce Willis and Tracy Morgan, are two suspended cops working for the NYPD, and they're celebrating their 9th year as partners. And Jimmy's daughter, Michelle Trachtenberg, sadly, who's no longer with us anymore, getting married, and the price for the wedding is close to $50,000. And Paul is worried that his wife is cheating on him, so he sets up a video camera in a teddy bear, while Jimmy is selling his 1952 Andy Pafko baseball card to pay for the wedding. Paul is calling his wife. However, Jimmy is robbed by Dave, played by Sean William Scott, who steals his car and Paul's favorite gun. So yeah, the first thing you notice right from the bat here is that this script is all over the goddamn place. Like, seriously, this movie is all over the place. There is not a central plot line in this movie that makes any sense whatsoever. It doesn't even feel like a real buddy cop movie. It just feels like, let's take snippets of these other movies that we could have had. Like, I really get the feeling that this whole idea started off as like a spin-off to The Hangover, where, two guys get in a situation where they're trying to sell off an expensive item, and then this guy takes it, and it's part of like a bigger crime operation, something like that. Like, I feel like this movie took bits and pieces from other scripts in the WB library and just said, we've got a movie here, let's make it. So that's your first mistake right there. Second mistake is the chemistry between Bruce Willis and Tracy Morgan sucks. These two are really good actors, and they can work out, and they can do a lot of good, funny stuff overall, but man, they have no chemistry in this movie whatsoever. This is the definition of how not to make a buddy cop movie, and it just fails on every single level. Like, this is unbelievable how bad this movie is. The jokes are terrible. They throw in these pointless references to Bruce Willis's work. I mean, there's literally a scene where Tracy Morgan is in an interrogation room while Bruce Willis is in the behind the glass, and and Tracy Morgan's just like, "Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker!" And Bruce Willis is just like, "Oh, I don't even know what that is." It's just like, funny. You're really, really effing funny when you're really not. Like, if there's anything I can say to the movie is that I laughed a lot, but I laughed at how terrible it is. I mean, this movie is a disaster. I could not believe that this movie was as bad as it is. This is absolutely horrible. Horrible. I mean, this is an abysmal mess of a movie. And you would think that Bruce Willis and Tracy Morgan would have had to have known that the script was terrible and try to go through with it and see if they could get something going here, but there's just nothing there at all. And you could just tell that this film, Kevin Smith did not give a fuck about making this movie, because it does not feel like a Kevin Smith movie at all. You could put any other director on this movie, and it would not make a difference at all. Like, you could put somebody like you could have put Martin Scorsese on this, and really, it wouldn't have been any different. Like, you could have had Todd Phillips. Any director in Hollywood could have come in here and basically have done this movie, and it would have not made much of a difference at all. Like, I don't even think the greatest directors of all time could have saved this movie. That's how bad this is. There's just nothing good about this film. The plot makes no sense. There's way too many subplots in here. There's characters that go absolutely nowhere. The only character you really do get invested in, of all people, is Anna Claudia Talencon, who you see in the trailer there. I'm sorry, not Anna Claudia Talencon. I'm thinking of the girl from Wonders Club. No, this is the girl from Nacho Libre, Ana de Regueira. Like, she's the only one in this movie that you really give a shit about, honestly. Like, she's the only one who you look here and it's just like, wow, I'm actually getting something from this person here, because I don't like anybody else in this movie. And this has a stacked cast, too. I mean, Adam Brody's also in here. Kevin Pollak. Sean William Scott is in this movie. I'll get to him in just a second. Jason Lee. Rashida Jones plays Tracy Morgan's wife. How do you misuse Rashida Jones? I mean, come on. Like, they misused Michelle Trachtenberg. They misused Jim Norton. Mark Consuelos is in here. Like, Adrian Martinez, Guillermo Diaz. Like, this is unbelievable how this movie just completely is just devoid of anything of noteworthiness. The only other character in here I kind of liked was Sean William Scott. at times, yes, he could be funny, but he was also the most annoying character ever because he just would not shut up. I mean, he just kept going and going. And he does these stupid things like, you know, he's a parkour guy. He's good at climbing walls. There's literally a scene where he hits his head on a stone wall, and you think he's dead, but not in this movie. No, no, no. He comes back in the post-credits sequence because we got to have him in there for the inevitable sequel that's going to get made because this is going to make a ton of money, and it didn't. It didn't make any money at all. Okay, technically it did. It is still Kevin Smith's highest-grossing movie as a filmmaker. It cost like $30 million to make and brought in $55 million worldwide. So technically it was a hit, but Kevin Smith never went back to doing mainstream work after this. I mean, the next thing he did was mostly going back to his roots with independent movies and taking some chances. Not all of them were great. Red State, Tusk, Yoga Hosers, the 430 movie. He went back to the Views universe for Clerks 3, which is probably his best overall film in the 15 years in between now and that Cop-Out, but this movie is a mess, man. Like, this is no doubt the worst thing Kevin Smith has directed, and that's saying a lot, because Kevin Smith has made some pretty bad movies, but this is the bottom of the barrel for him. This is an ungodly mess of a movie. Avoid Cop-Out like the plague. Ugh, just not a good movie. Not a good movie at all, so let's see if we can turn the tide with our last movie here, and that is The Crazies, the remake of The Crazies.
All things wise and wonderful, and our Lord loves them all.
Is he dead?
Crazies, rated R.
This is based off, of course, of George A. Romero's 1973 film, and you have a fictional Iowa town that becomes afflicted by a biological agent that turns those infected into violent killers, essentially zombies, even though technically they're not really zombies, but they basically kind of move around like zombies overall. But this is directed by Brett Eisner, whose last movie he made was Sahara, which I liked it. I don't think it was as bad as most people made it out to be, but this film overall is probably his best overall film as a director because it does for The Crazies what the Dawn of the Dead remake in 2004 did for the original Dawn of the Dead. It's a movie that is modernizing the story for a new generation, and you got really good people who know what they're doing and aren't just simply doing a retread of the original film. They're bringing a new element to it. And I thought they did a pretty good job with it overall. You've got a good cast that includes Timothy Olyphant, Rhoda Mitchell, Joe Anderson, Daniel Panabaker. A good cast overall here. Some pretty good scares overall, too. The makeup work overall is top-notch. I mean, these are the same guys that did stuff like... These are the guys that did Quarantine, the 2008 film, which was okay, even though the marketing spoiled the ending for you. But, I mean, they did a pretty good job of making these things look terrifying. And they do look legitimately terrifying, like something out of 30 Days a Night. But, yeah, it surprisingly works. It's actually one of the few horror remakes that actually really does go all in on it. And I think because it was released by an independent company like Overture Films and not a major studio like Sony, who probably would, if they had it, it probably would have made it PG-13 like they did with Prom Night, which coincidentally these same makeup people did as well. Excuse me, but no, this movie is a lot better than I think a lot of people would have given it credit for. And it's probably one of their best overall films from Overture Films. I mean, this is probably high up there with some of their best films overall. It's a really good film. Definitely one of the better horror remakes out there, and one that kind of gets overlooked. Nobody really ever talks about it that much anymore, but it's one I definitely say give it a watch. It's definitely much better than I think you would give it credit for. So, yeah, Crazy is just one I'd recommend.